Ann.
I certainly called in at the right moment.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Cavuto show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is just like going on MSNBC.
How embarrassing. I must apologize, Ann Coulter.
Are you aware you're going out on radio?
Sometimes we completely forget, and we get caught up in what goes on with these interns and guys.
Well, we got this intern, David, and he pops boners very easily when he sees pictures of women.
Yeah.
You know, there's some aspects of the male mind I think should remain a mystery.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He's all embarrassed
God.
now. Because we caught him pretty much getting close to doing the work jerk.
Yeah, I picked up the general
Okay, you
gist
got
of the
it. All right.
conversation.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have to exploit that a little bit, you know.
And, by the way, Jimmy Norton, I like that they call you Jimmy.
They do.
When my brother Jimmy was going on and on and on, he listens to this show every morning, about how hilarious and quick you are. He did say he caught you once on HBO, and your actual stand-up act was, I believe the word he used was filthy.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's rather raw.
Rather raw.
I'm a much nicer boy in person. On that stage, I'm a rotten little man, but in person, I'm a sweetie.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I've sometimes it's really dirty. The special was shot. That was a lot of stuff that was in my personal life. And then the next hour I had, a lot of it was about politics and about the election. Depends on where I'm at in my life. Sometimes it's very dirty. Other times it's just a lot of political stuff and whatever.
And these days, with the new administration, it's both at the same time.
Yeah, I did the Obama stuff. All the election stuff had to go, but the Obama stuff I can still talk about. Obviously, you're informed, and I know we talked. I plugged this morning that you're debating Bill Maher. Are you guys both speaking, or is it an actual head-to-head debate?
Well, we'll both speak at the beginning, I assume. Neither of us quite know how it works. But we'll both give, I guess, 15, 20 minutes. And then I assume there will be a moderator, and we debate Radio City Music Hall on Monday night. And then we go to Boston on Tuesday and Chicago on Wednesday.
What kind of relationship do you two have as far as, professionally? I mean,
Well, I used to do his show Politically Incorrect all the time. I was his most frequent guest. We'd go out after the show. We'd go out when he was in New York, and I just haven't seen him for a long time. And I used to watch Politically Incorrect religiously. I don't really care for his current show, not so much. Well, I haven't watched in such a long time. I can't even say much about him, though I think he's very funny, and I always really liked him. But it's his audience I can't stand.
ugh.
Have they gotten too radical? You think? Are they like they irrationally left?
It's the crazymoveon.org crowd. Remember, he got kicked off ABC for what appeared to be, and I think it was unfair to Bill, as I told him I had a notebook of all the things he said on Politically Incorrect that he should have been kicked off for. And this wasn't it, but it sounded like he was dissing American troops and saying nice things about the terrorists a few weeks after 9/11. That wasn't true. And not to rehash the details, but that's the way it came across. Mm-hmm. That's why he got fired. People who liked that ended up in his new audience.
Yeah, they love him. Ugh. It's hard to watch when they cheer for these things that are just like, oh my God, could you shut up?
Right, and Jimmy must appreciate this more than I do even, and it drives me out of my mind. You can see Bill up there setting up a joke, but the audience ruins it because they must cheer at certain names and they must boo at other names.
Because they think they're part of these dumb audiences think they're part of the creative process. And it drives me nuts when they think they need to agree ideologically in order to enjoy the joke, which I never do. Like, Paul Mooney's a black comic. He's fairly radical. He's a good reference point.
Fairly.
But, I mean, I agree with very little of what he says. And he really gives it to white people good. But you know what? He's a really funny comic, so I enjoy watching him. I don't need to agree to enjoy what he does.
Right.
So when you're setting something up and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, it's like, do you idiots understand there's timing involved here?
Yes.
And they don't.
Yes, and you can see Marr wincing when his retarded audience applauds. No. Comedians don't want applause. Applause means you said, you're Whoopi Goldberg. Laughter, that's like a sneeze. You can't help laughing.
You're right. And you know what? One thing I loved about George Carlin is the longer he went on, the more they would applaud at what he was setting up. And George would just kind of, okay, and he would put his hand up, and you could see he didn't want it. He wanted to make the point, or he wanted the laughs, but he wasn't looking for, like, the cheap slut applause that a lot of comics try to go for by saying something poignant.
Right. So I think Bill Maher has roughly the same opinion of his audience that I do, but what can you do?
Now,
so that's why I want your listeners to come to the show.
Besides the audience, you and Bill in particular, do you have a differing point of views enough where the debate could get heated?
I don't think either of us are particularly the heated type.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you guys are pretty opposite sides of the spectrum, though. I mean, I could definitely see you saying something that sets him off, or vice versa.
Yes, I think there's very little we will disagree on.
Agree on, you mean?
Right, agree on, but I don't think we'll. We also, neither one of us, I think, is very likely to become offended, to use the feminist word.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. But I would like to see two people disagree on things like that. Cause,
at this point, I'm not sure there's anything we agree on.
It's so, politics is so odd because it's debated so much, but you're never changing anyone's mind.
That's not true.
Well, 99.9% of the time, you're never changing anyone's mind.
Oh, I don't think that's true at all. Especially with young people and college students. I meet loads of college students and recent college graduates who've changed their mind. I was giving a speech up at Syracuse a few years ago at a dinner, and this happens frequently. At dinner, one of the kids, although this was a little odd, one of the kids starts, laughingly telling me about everything that goes on at the green meetings on campus and the idiotic things they were planning. And he was giving me so many details, I finally said to him, "What, are you like the college Republican secret mole in the Green Party?" And he said, "Oh, no, I used to be a Green." And I said, ask him what happened to him, and he said he had come to see a speech of mine 2 years ago, soon after 9/11, and he said nobody else was making any sense. You were the only person who made sense. I meet a lot of college kids who change their minds, and young people who've read a book and become conservative.
Yeah.
Are people taken back? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's. It seems very rare though when you're debating something. I guess with people who you can kind of. That are a little more malleable, you get a little more luck. When people are stuck in their ways and you try to just argue points with them and they're spewing out the same crap, it just gets frustrating.
That's true. That's why I tend not to listen to people I'm arguing with.
Yeah.
It gets very frustrating when you listen.
Whose idea was the Bill Maher debate? Did you approach him, or did he approach you? And what was it like? Because, I mean, you've pretty much gone out. I mean, I saw you really gave Matt Lauer a nice beating, which was nice. And I like Joy Behar, but I thought on Larry King, I thought you did a really great job of knocking down every point she made. I mean,
thank you. I loved that interview, and I've always liked her, too.
It was
that was good.
You seem like a tough person because you have, whether people agree with you or not, you have your facts lined up, and you're always able to defend your point. So what sparked this whole Bill Maher?
I think it was the Speakers Bureau that dreamed it up, because the Speakers Bureau approached me, and they came up with the idea, and I must say it's a great idea. Most of the potential sparring partners that people have come up with for me, I have not thought, oh, that's a good idea. I mean, James Carville, Snooze Fest, Al Sharpton, witty, but you're kind of talking past each other. Yeah. Let's see, and of course the whole Tawana Brawley thing. Al Franken, obnoxious and unfunny. Bill Maher will actually be fun, I think.
Who would you say is one of the tougher people you've had to debate against?
I was supposed to be, and I'm brokenhearted over this. This isn't exactly a debate, but it was the only interviewer I was ever intimidated by. I went down to Washington last weekend for CPAC, but got there early for a book notes interview on C-SPAN. And my interviewer, I don't know if you've seen these things on C-SPAN, they have sort of unusual pairings of interviewee and interviewer, was going to be Phyllis Schlafly. And I realized as it was approaching, this is the first interviewer I think I've had where I know the interviewer is smarter than I am. And even though we're simpatico on many things, she's just a very smart woman. I write about her in Slander. It's stunning, especially the way she's been dismissed as if all she does is cook brownies. She's written, dozens of books, most of them serious, solid books on foreign policy and military weapons systems. In any event, she's much older than she looks, and she broke her hip the day before.
Oh, wow.
The interview, and they just pulled in somebody else to do the interview. So I was disappointed about that. And as for the best, Maher, I would say, is one of the better ones, mostly because he's funny and smart and quick on his feet. He's not as much of a political junkie, but he's witty, and being funny counts for a lot.
Was there anybody you thought was going to be tough that just turned out to be a complete horse's ass, or that was just completely inept?
The toughest debates, in my opinion, are the ones where the person you're debating has. You may want to write things about them. They have done things that you want to say that are true, that were bad, but you don't want to say it to their faces. At least I don't. I'm a polite person. One of them was Al Sharpton. I was on Politically Incorrect with him one time, and we were talking about some phony race crime out in L.A. that the cops had engaged in. And all day I kept saying to myself, you have to mention Tawana Brawley. You have to mention Tawana Brawley. I don't really enjoy doing that. I just did the Dr. Phil show with Scott McClellan, whom I completely justly make fun of and attack in my current book, Guilty. Everything I say is true in the book, but that doesn't mean I want to face the person. And the one I was least looking forward to, because it's the most egregious, was a debate with Janet Reno. How can you not mention that this is the Attorney General responsible
Waco.
for killing the most Americans?
Exactly. Ruby Ridge, right?
Yeah, so those are the ones I really hate. Other than that, I like to debate.
Well, I was talking to you last night, and you said you're a late night writer, and you were going to slam somebody who I've slammed and who none of us here like.
It's going up at 6 o'clock tonight.
The Keith Olbermann article.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, we were not fans of Olbermann here.
Oh my God.
Well, I've been meaning to getting around to writing this, but other things were going on, and he's not that important. But if you've ever watched any 2 nights of his show, you know that Keith Olbermann went to Cornell. He's constantly talking about going to Cornell, about having an Ivy League education. Also, if you've ever watched any 2 nights of Olbermann, you know that he goes for these lame-ass gotcha moments where he will catch someone in the most minuscule mistake. As, for example, when I put in the column when he corrected Charlie Rangel, said inferred, but he meant implied.
Oh, God.
So that is a correction Olbermann cannot let pass. He cannot mention George Orwell without giving the true name, Eric Blair. He could not do that any more than a neurotic could walk past a sink without washing his hands. And so I must say, this is not something people who actually went to good schools do. So I had to point out that Keith Olbermann didn't go to the Ivy League Cornell. He went to the Ag School, which isn't something I would normally bring up or make fun of. And by the way, the farmers and the veterinarians who go to the Ag School are totally cool. But the SATs are obviously massively lower for the Ag School. The acceptance rate massively higher. And in point of fact, the Ag School isn't an Ivy League school. The Ivy League school is the Arts and Sciences Cornell. It's the only school at Cornell that grants a BA. The Ag School is more closely associated with, other land grant colleges in New York, like Morrisville Agriculture School, to whom they have a transfer program. This guy is a total and complete fraud, and he's constantly going around bragging about my Ivy League education. As much as loathsome as Jonathan Alter and Frank Rich are, people who actually went to good schools would never sneer at other people for going to not so good schools.
Yes, so you had to call him out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So basically, Keith Olbermann went to the apex tech of Ivy League schools.
Yes, he went to the one with classes on milking and bovine management.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I bet he put that rubber glove on a few times to do that pregnancy check on a few horses.
He's just a nerd, man.
I want to...
Fucking nerd.
Pretentious, may not realize it, but he's gay. Screaming, angry, 57-year-old woman trapped in a man's body.
Wow.
And having him go around claiming he went to the Ivy League school at Cornell is more than we should have to put up with.
Wait, Ann, is he 57 years old?
No, but he seems like a 50.
Oh,
I have no
okay.
idea how old he is. He just seems like a 57-year-old woman.
Is he married or anything?
I can't imagine.
I want to get into a few things concerning our beloved president, Obama.
Love the Obama.
Do you? There's a few things that have been popping up lately, and first of all, how long does he have to be in office before he can start being responsible for what is being done? Because it seems like, well, it's only been so long, and we have to blame everything on the past administration and the mess he stepped into. I mean, obviously, things like the market have no faith in what he's been doing.
Right.
When will he have to start accepting responsibility that he is the president, and when things aren't going well, it's now his fault and his problem?
That is a great question. I think around the year 2020.
2020? All right. Yeah, I just wanted some kind of ballpark figure there. And what do you think about this letter written to Russia about let's make a deal about the missile shield over Europe in exchange for helping out with Iran and their nuclear technology? And then Russia pretty much saying, we don't haggle like that. I think it made him look silly and weak, weaker than everybody thought he even was internationally. And it kind of shows his foreign policy. That is a giant mistake, and I barely read about it.
Yeah, it's almost as if we elected a completely inexperienced president
almost
who did way over his head.
Wow, you would think that if it,
you would think that.
Let me ask a question. Let me play devil's advocate here, because is it possible? Because again, he reached out to Ahmadinejad and also now Russia.
It's reaching out to everybody.
But I mean, both.
Except to Russia.
Yeah. It's reaching into my pocket. That's where he's reaching.
Typically, Iran and Russia have not been close U.S. allies. Is it possible that it was dumb to reach out to them, but both of them are seeing this as an opportunity to make what could be, like they say Kennedy possibly cut a deal with Khrushchev on many years ago.
Yeah, but look how far that had to go before he cut a deal. This guy writes a letter pretty much giving away Europe's security, or this at least the guise of security. If you look at what Reagan did, he scared the crap out of the Russians with this Star Wars system that made Russia pretty much break themselves defending against something that didn't even exist. So what you got to do is let them think you're building this shield for Europe against missiles, because, believe me, Russia's been very concerned about that. Don't tip your hand and say, we'll give it to you if you help us with Iran. It's such poor foreign policy.
But is it possible that Iran and Russia basically have used this as just an opportunity, instead of doing the right thing, to just kind of use it to make the U.S. look weak?
He should have known that they would do that then. They're known as people that don't treat us fairly when it comes to negotiating.
We shouldn't be involved in Europe's defense anyway. Europe has done nothing but show
NATO.
ingratitude.
We have
Muslim now.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is stunningly bad. I mean, Bush reached out to Russia, but you don't lead by offering the opponents everything they could possibly want.
Yeah.
And by the way, despite Hollywood movies to the contrary, I write about this in my current book, Guilty. Kennedy's meeting with Khrushchev was one of the great foreign policy disasters of our time. As has been described now, 20, 30 years later, because the press was covering for him at the time, as they're going to be covering for Obama. When he met with Khrushchev, he was batted around by Khrushchev. Khrushchev was belligerent and angry, and Kennedy didn't know what to say. Kennedy was completely shaken and white-faced. Khrushchev was on the top of his game, and in his autobiography he wrote, "This was wonderful. I realized that the Americans were being led by a weak and useless president." And when Kennedy came out to meet with an exclusive interview with James Reston of the New York Times, shaking, pale, the whole staff was demoralized and depressed. Jim Reston just lied about it and said, "Oh, our confident president had a good meeting with with Khrushchev. No gains were won. Khrushchev realized what a wimp Kennedy was. Moves missiles into Cuba, and then and the Cuban are the Bay of Pigs, which Kennedy does, but gives the Cubans no air cover. Khrushchev realized he was dealing with an imbecile, and that's when he moves the weapons in. So, then Kennedy gets praised for his brilliant handling of a crisis he himself created.
And then meanwhile, when all is said and done and the missiles are out of Cuba, we then had to pull missiles out of Turkey.
Thank you, yes.
So they won. In the long run, they wound up
wanted.
getting the advantage.
That's right. That's all Khrushchev ever wanted. He also wrote in his memoirs it was absurd. He didn't care about Cuba. He didn't care about those missiles. He just wanted our missiles pulled out of Hungary.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened. So, unbelievable.
And that's what we have again. And once again, we'll have our watchdog media, watchdog for the people, acting as guard dog for the government.
And Barney Frank talking about cutting the budget for the military. Again, such a Democratic thing to do that just takes any bite out of whatever tiger is left of the United States. It leaves the Republicans, once they do regain power, because they always do, because the Democrats just are incapable of running a country, it leaves them having to rebuild the country's military and the respect in the world again.
No, that's absolutely right. And on top of that, I consider it amazing and appalling that Barney Frank can show his face in public.
Oh, I know.
It shows you how much media power, how much power the media has, let me put it that way, that Barney Frank, along with Chris Dodd, Bill Clinton, was pushing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac into making these preposterous loans, forcing banks to abandon all business judgment. That is the nuclear time bomb that went off, that set off the current recession and is destroying bank after bank across America. There is video of Barney Frank standing up, denouncing Republicans who were complaining about these politically correct rules for lending, and yet he's still out there, giving us his foreign policy advice.
Yep, isn't that great? Foreign policy advice from this guy. It's angering. And again, speaking of foreign policy, Hillary Clinton just being welcome everywhere she goes.
I can never figure these Democrats out. I mean, all they have to do is show up at a single AIPAC meeting, and Jews are on board or down with the Democrats, but then they turn around and in vote after vote, talk about our darling Ahmadinejad.
Isn't that something? He's a rock star, that guy, Ahmadinejad. They love covering him. The news is so responsible for where we are right now that it's stunning when you look at it, how they build these people up into rock stars and heroes. And Obama is a prime example. I mean, this guy could do no wrong in the press. He was on the cover of every paper for so long, just looking like the savior and hero of this nation, while, of course, for 8 years, George Bush, whether you agree or not, was just the devil, the villain on the cover of the papers. And they pretty much sold Obama to everybody.
Right, though I think there's going to come a point when no matter how much the media keeps telling us how adorable Obama is, people are going to get fed up with their 401ks disappearing, their jobs disappearing, the capital to fund new projects disappearing.
Oh, and sorry, I'm interrupting you. I just wanted to comment on what Michelle's wearing. My God, is that dress just fantastic on her? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something important? Ugh. What color are the kids wearing to school? I'm broke.
Are you in love?
Exactly
She's
right.
Great.
Anthony's in love with you, Ann.
I just listen.
God.
It's like
do you guys disagree with anything?
Nothing.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
Oh, can't we have a little fun? The country is collapsing.
Her hair color's perfect.
Hey, do you...
Too bad you're not 20. It's the only thing holding you.
Hey, do you know...
That's against you with Ann.
I was surprised at this, because colleges are such liberal, real
Agree with her.
bastions for like this liberal obsession. And I was surprised when they had Ahmadinejad speak at Columbia the way Bulger, I think his name is.
Right.
I was trashing them for allowing him, because they were the ones that were booing the Minutemen because they were anti-immigration.
Yep.
Were you surprised with how he
Illegal
handled the Iranian president, the way he really gave him a smash?
Well, giving a lot of college speeches, I wasn't surprised at all. Bollinger, in fact, had been my constitutional law professor at Michigan, where he then became the dean before ending up at Columbia. And no, it was just what I expected. The only thing Ahmadinejad got booed for was when he said there were no homosexuals in Iran.
Yeah.
He didn't mention, why there are no homosexuals.
That was
But we
hilarious,
killed
though.
them.
That got
we
a great
killed-
reaction, though. Everyone laughing at him.
Yeah, that really is embarrassing. They all just laughed at him.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
You know
killing
what's-
the Jews, they didn't mind so much.
You know what's frightening, though? They were laughing, but don't they understand that just by him saying that, the way he said it, that's the type of intolerant guy he is, that he thought that was fine for him to say in front of these people. Because to him, it was fine.
Right.
We don't have any gays. We kill them.
Right.
That's pretty much it. And they're like, oh, gosh, he's so wacky. But, he wears a suit, and I've never seen a towel on his head. So I guess he's okay. Ugh.
Fortunately, that's the way it always is with totalitarians. The one bright side is they always kill, the intellectuals first.
Right.
Well, thank God we're safe here on this show.
Yeah. We'll be the last one to go before mice. So you doing college speeches again, being really, really conservative. Do they receive you better than you expect them to, or is it typically a horror show, or what is the normal experience?
That's a great question. I write about it in my last book. If Democrats had any brains, they'd be Republicans. Giving college speeches. Well, for one thing, because I love my country, love God, I show up on a college campus and, have to have a phalanx of cops like I'm David Duke. But
You aren't?
I've told my YAF, we could, judge the number of security on the security team by letting me check and see what the average SATs are at the school. Curiously and actually contrary to my expectation, Harvard, Yale, Wellesley, basically all of the good schools, any school in the South treat me absolutely respectfully. They have too much intellectual pride and too much chivalry in the South, certainly, to be, booing or screaming their heads off or throwing food. A lot of college liberals will come if I give a speech at Harvard, but they want to challenge me in question and answer period, and I'll take questions until they have collapsed of exhaustion. It's the Bush League schools out in the middle of the country, where you have, obviously some smart students. Even at the Cornell Ag School, I'm sure there are a few smart students. But you also have a lot of stupid kids who probably should not be in college at all. They're ginned up by their professors, or for short, former members of the Weather Underground, and Ward Churchill, and they are just in a feral rage. They would ask a question during question and answer, but they can't think of one. But they can throw food and engage in violence to try to impress their professors.
Wonderful.
So basically, they're just acting like, because they can't do the battle intellectually, they're just kind of kicking and screaming like petulant children.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and to give you another example, I just got back from L.A. About something you asked me about earlier. And when I was doing a radio show, a young entertainment guy came in. He was probably in his late 20s, working for one of the big studios in Hollywood, and we were talking he wanted to meet me and get his book signed. And we were chatting during the breaks, and, he's very right-wing. And I started making fun of college liberals. And he just incidentally remarked, oh, yeah, I used to be one of those. I was up at, I think it was the University of Oregon. He said he was standing out with a bullhorn protesting the war in Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Even Michael Moore pretended to support that one. So he was some crazy liberal with a bullhorn on a college campus. And I said, what happened to you? And he said, well, I graduated from college and I thought I should read some stuff, so I picked up one of your books. And now he's read them all, and now he's a total right-winger.
Now, but is he a right-winger, or is he just kind of obsessed with you? I don't know if I like this guy or if he's kind of creepy.
It's a stalker.
No, he's read other people, too. He just happens to have started with one of mine.
So you and Bill, now, are there debate parameters, or are you really not too sure exactly where it's going to go?
We have no idea. Or maybe he does and he's not telling me, but we've emailed about it. And I don't know, we just both sort of assume we each start with about 15 and 20 minutes, and then the moderator will ask us questions. And the only thing I really care about is that we slightly change the questions or the emphasis of the debate each night because, we could argue for 18 hours straight without breaking a sweat. And I'm not an actress. I'd have a much bigger apartment if I could act. And I don't want to go to, I think audiences notice, and I sure notice. I don't want to do one of these stale, pre-programmed tennis game where we say the same things in Boston and Chicago. So we have enough to disagree with that we can slightly change the emphasis. But that does seem to indicate that New York is definitely going to be the best night since it'll be all fresh.
And is there anything that that the Republicans or that the ideology of the Republican Party pushes that you disagree with in favor of what the Democrats push?
No.
You pretty much you're down the line. There's no ideological separation.
Sometimes when Republicans are pushing the same thing as the Democrats, and that ticks me off.
It's not
but
even
I can't think of anything the Democrats are right on, except in those rare occasions when they agree with the Republicans.
Okay. All right. Well, the debates are starting Monday, which is March 9th here in New York City at Radio City, which is again probably a great night to go because it's still fresh and it's all happening for the first time. And also, we're heard in Boston, March 10th, which is Tuesday, the City Performing Arts Center, Chicago Theater in Chicago, which is Wednesday, March 11th. And for tickets and more info, you can go to www.speakerseries2009.com. And, of course, your book, Guilty, which is still on the bestseller list, you can get it or at least get info on AnnCoulter.com. Good luck with these debates. Obviously, we're, certainly pulling for you.
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. I hope you'll be there.
I'm flying home from San Francisco on Monday, and that is something I want to do Monday night. I would love to go and see that live. Because I've only seen you debate a few times, but Matt Lauer is not a dumb guy at all. And Joy Behar is not a dumb person either. And you ran circles around both of them, so I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks so much for having me on.
No problem, Ann.
It was great.
I'm going to call her Ann instead of Ann Coulter or, Ms. Coulter.
And I'll definitely see you soon. It was great seeing you last night.
I know. That was so much fun. And, of course, I was just wrapping up my column about that, so I watched some of it.
All right, well, hopefully we could do that again.
I know. That was great. Thanks.
All right, Jimmy.
What? My friend and I,
Oh,
two
nothing.
intellectual giants are talking.
Hilarious. You
Jesus.
should have seen him last night.
They're fighting over
Your
it.
line about what you can say about the Muslims was the funniest line of the show.
Thank you very much.
That was hilarious.
some people have called me funny too.
Ant is a brilliantly funny
Just would
guy.
like to say, throw that out there.
Ant doesn't like that a couple of intellectual giants / authors are having a nice discussion. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right,
A couple
I
of
get
respected
it.
pundits chit-chatting. It's what we do.
Yeah, tip my hat to you, Jimmy.
Hey, have a good weekend, Ant, and good luck with these debates, and we'll definitely see you soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Good to talk to you guys. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye, Ant.